Hi, welcome to a special edition of Matt's Chats, where today we have two esteemed guests from Nottingham College. We have Shifa, who is our Head of IT Infrastructure, and we have Dr. Joe Wellham, who is our Data Protection Officer. Welcome both.
Thank you.
So the idea of today is really that we just go through, so we've pulled down a couple of reports that have highlighted our data storage, and we're just going to talk about the potential of a digital declutter and what that means. So Shifa, I'll start with you. What do we need to do and why?
So digital declutter is similar to decluttering anything else in your house. If you had filing cabinets, etc. So digital declutter, just because it's not visible, like you can walk past it, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So email, Teams, SharePoint, anything that you store or archive has a footprint, and making sure you do periodic housekeeping is very important to keep that digital footprint down.
So when you talk about digital footprint, that means so when we store stuff in the cloud, it's stored on servers that are creating carbon emissions. That's correct, isn't it?
That's right, yeah. So there's, for example, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, they have huge data centers, and these data centers use lots of energy, water to run, and the more data you store, the more data centers they have to build to store that information. So that's obviously impacting the environment and having an impact. The more data you store, the more impact you'll have on the environment, just because we can't see it. So when we say the cloud, it doesn't mean, in the cloud, it means it's a data center somewhere else. So we're not hosting it internally, someone else is hosting it for us. So you're still having the same footprint and the same impact on the environment as you would if you had one in the college, for example.
And it's like anything new, isn't it? When we sort of get given something new, and it's better than before. So in this sense, we thought that, like, for example, if we stopped printing, if we stopped being on paper, then that's much more sustainable. But actually, it's really not that case, is it?
That's right. A lot of large email inboxes, OneDrive folders, a lot of them will be due to large images or large files being stored and kept and archived. People tend to archive digital documents a lot longer than non-paper documents. So
we've got some facts and figures for us as a college, which we'll get to in a minute, because they're quite enormous. Joe, what do you think about the data protection after what Shifa said there?
Yeah, so I think there's a really big point there about how if something's on paper, it takes up space. Eventually you start falling over it, you run out of shelf space and so on, and you don't have that same issue with digital information. But data protection legislation is very clear that where we've got personal information, if we do not have a proper business use for that information anymore, we should no longer hold it. Okay. And we're breaching data protection legislation if we do. So it is really important to stay on top of.
Can you give me an example of that?
Yeah, so for example, if you've been working through CVs with students, for example, you might have a set of those in a folder because you've been helping them, they've been submitting them to you. If that piece of work is done and gone, and there's no reason to keep that, then it may be that at the end of that academic year or 2 years later or 3 years later, you should be deleting that stuff as the new cohorts of students come through, and it's really important to set a kind of schedule for yourself as to the types of information that you keep and when, from a housekeeping perspective, you delete.
Is there an actual time frame that we're talking about?
Yeah, so we have a college data retention schedule. It's on our policies page on StaffNet, and you can go and look at it. It's got 40 odd pages at the back for all the different types of information that we keep and how long we should keep each for. But I'm always very happy to support with that. If somebody wants to email Data Protection Officer @, then we always like to hear from people because it teaches us about what people are keeping and what they need to know.
40 pages?
Yeah, it's because we keep so many different types of information. So no one's reading all 40 pages. You'll have two or three cells in that 40-page table that will be relevant to you. But if you're having trouble finding that or you want some advice, then get in touch.
Okay. So Shifa pulled down a report for the amount of data that we have, and quite shocking. We have around 170 terabytes of information. And he texted me later that evening to say, actually, it's 3 times that amount. So it's 510 terabytes. 170 terabytes equates to the world's data storage in 2002 or 3, I think.
Incredible.
That's what we host as a college. That's how much files have grown. You know, and I am quite bad at this, obviously, because I'm a photographer. So photography files are quite big. So I'm having to think about how and when I store my stuff and why. So, and emails, so you broke it down, didn't you, Shifa? And our email storage, I've worked out, if we all clear our emails out, we save 31,000 miles of a car per year.
That's a good
Which is again, I think it's really useful for people to have those understandings of actually what that means. So so Shifa, if you could just explain how you do, I mean, it sounds easy, but how do you delete your emails?
Press delete. No. So I just want to pick up a point before I answer that question. Joe mentioned the retention policies and from a data protection angle that you should delete certain information that you hold after a period of time. I think it's also important to mention that you're reducing the risk of a cybersecurity incident. Because if you're, for example, if you're keeping everybody's CV that's applied for a job at the college for years and years and years, you have all this personal information that belongs to all these people. And if somebody was to hack our organization and get access to that, they have information that they potentially they couldn't have had access to if we were maintaining and managing our housekeeping properly. So, I think from a cybersecurity perspective, it's very important that even before the retention period, gets to that limit, if you need to declutter and just get rid of it, because it's safer. And in terms of bringing down your footprint with emails, OneDrive, SharePoint, any files that you don't need, just delete them. And a lot of the times we'll delete a file in an email, for example. It'll go into our deleted items and it'll just sit there. And then you'll have thousands and thousands of emails in there. And sometimes you might need to bring one back, and that's understandable. But majority of times that will never happen. So empty that recycle bin, that deleted items folder periodically. And also your sent items. This is one that a lot of times is missed. For example, I was speaking to a colleague who said, I've deleted all my emails after year X, for example. And I said, well, check your sent items, and they were going back years.
Right.
So you can clear that as well. And there is a recycle bin, a first stage recycle bin that Microsoft have, just for that added layer of protection that you can recall that email. But that's, I think, within 30 days they'll clear that themselves. So there's no need for us to manually go there and delete it. And same with the Teams, OneDrive, SharePoint. Any files you archive in there, if you don't need them, clean them periodically.
What about chat in Teams?
Chat in Teams.
All those chats, I've got hundreds of chats. So do you need to?
I don't think we have a way to go back and delete them manually ourselves.
Okay.
And I think that's because it's just text that's got very minimum, if any, footprint. But the main storage take-up is with files and folders and emails. Nowadays, emails have sometimes very large attachments, especially, for example, photography, or in estates they'll have floor plans and diagrams, and so there's a lot of heavy usage in these areas.
Yeah.
So
it's fascinating, and it's like, it's not seen as a punishment for anyone to have to do this. But I mean, I'm quite scared to look through, but I don't remember doing this before, so I imagine my personal email count will be quite high, wouldn't you? I mean, we email a lot, don't we? And then you go home and then you come back the next day, and you don't really think of it. I mean, so I think this is a case where we have to stop. We've taken this information down. We've taken a recording of our data. Hopefully we'll do this declutter over the next couple of months, and then we'll bring another report down and we'll look at the percentage of that and then see how successful that is, I think.
That'd be great. And any effort that anybody's making, that any of us makes, that's more than we make at the minute, is a plus. It's a first step.
Absolutely. But if you think of that, if you can have that in mind, that what we have a year is 31,000 miles of a car. I mean, that's quite excessive. And when we think about, I know my role is sustainability. And people would say, well, I recycle, there's so much that we can do that we don't think about doing. We've been sold that if we recycle, then we'll solve the world's problems. And clearly that's not going to happen. And that sort of brings me on to the next point, Shifra, about AI and how, and obviously as educational establishments, we need to use what's new to us. It's AI is there. We can't ignore it. It will be good, but it's problematic, isn't it?
We know AI is a great tool in many ways, but when it comes to the environment, there's a negative side to it. And a lot of the time we don't see that. So the data centers that house these AI servers, they produce electronic waste, which we know of. They consume large amounts of water, which we may not think about, because we know the servers run on electric, but large amounts of water also. And not only that, they rely on critical minerals and rare elements, which are often mined unsustainably. And they said the second problem is that these data centers that produce electronic waste, they often contain hazardous materials like mercury and lead. And e-waste is one of the fastest growing solid waste streams in the world. In 2022, an estimated 62 million tons of e-waste were produced globally, and only 22.3% was documented as formally collected and recycled. Data centers use water during construction, for example, and once they're operational, they need to be cooled. And globally, according to one estimate, the AI-related infrastructure may soon consume 6 times more water than Denmark.
Okay, so summing up, what we need to do, we need to empty our emails, we need to clear our cloud storage and stuff that has got all information about ourselves and other people on there that we no longer deal with, or our ex-students.
And I would say, I feel like I missed it earlier by saying actually email in particular holds massive amounts of personal information. So what we can do to delete our deleted items and our sent items in particular and stay on top of those emails. The other thing is, people like I know in the job I do need to keep an email audit trail of things sometimes. So sometimes I will need an email that's a couple of years old. But you can pull that file out, you can save it in a folder elsewhere, and then get rid of it from your Outlook itself, and you'll still have that Outlook file should you need it in the future.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking in bed last night, because I was thinking about us doing this and about that, the decluttering, and if something's up in your loft and you've not touched it for 6 months, then it needs to go. It's the same with our emails, isn't it? I can't think of a time when I really need to go back and look through an email that was 3 or 4 months ago. So I'm going to do it, and then if it goes wrong, I'm coming to you. So that's what we're doing.
Fix it.
Yeah. So have you anything else to add on anything that we need to do?
I mean, with regards to, for example, from a cybersecurity perspective, one of the most common ways an organisation is breached is through user accounts. So the first thing they'll do is somebody will hack your account. And then they'll have access to all the information that you have access to. So that's the first bit of information that they'll exploit, shall we say, or exfiltrate, and then they'll work their way in through to an organisation. So I think it's important that everybody, takes stock of, their own position within an organisation and individual responsibilities of the information that they have, or they hold, or they hoard, shall we say, right? And I think, we don't have an unlimited amount of storage. Microsoft did advertise that a while back. Quite a while back, but now they've actually told us we've got a finite amount of storage in our tenant. So we will hit that limit at some point in the future, but we don't want to even get close to that limit. We want to make sure that the information that we have access to or that we interact with is kept as safe, as secure as possible, and if it's not needed, just delete it.
Okay. Yeah, so we're doing it from a sustainability point of view, data protection and cyber security. So it's really important, isn't it, for us to do it? And it'd be really interesting to see how we can do that. We'll ask everyone to get on board and try and do it. I mean, we spoke about that 80% of data stored is dark data. Is it dark data where it's not used? Is it called dark data?
Can't remember what it's called now, but
anyway, it's bad. It's 80% is not used, unnecessary. So if we could get rid of half of that, we would be doing good. And if you think about that stat I gave you about 2003, we have the whole world, and the speed at which that's growing. It's growing. It's doubling. AI is making it double every year at the moment. I mean, that is scary, isn't it? So we
Absolutely.
need to do we need to do our bit. Okay, thank you very much. It's been really informative and quite scary, and hopefully what we're doing here is good for both us and the country and the planet.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.